All right. Welcome to another edition of Sabbath Lounge. This is Matt.
And Jake here.
Jake, how you doing?
I'm well. And yourself?
Good to see you. Jake, as we're recording this in Texas, we're preparing for winter Mageddon.
Right. The 3 days of winter in Texas.
Yes. So we got 3 days of winter coming up, and I have not been to the grocery store. I definitely tried to avoid it because I was like,
they're going to be out of toilet paper anyway.
The water's gone. Right. Yeah, all the staples that
right.
are nowhere to be found. So everybody's already panicked. They probably bought all the salt. They probably bought everything you can think of.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You're going to have to stay in your house like a whole day probably.
Yes, a whole day. Yes, but we got to be prepared. It's just like right. Pennsylvania.
Exactly.
So, but not. Well, we've been in a season of interviews, and that's where we are. But before we get to the interview, Jake, tell them what we need them to do.
Oh, you need to go to, first, subscribe, like the video. You'll probably do that after you've seen it so you know that you're giving an accurate account. But check out Sabbath Lounge and all the other things, and then share it with someone you know. And that's about it.
And we will be typically when we have a show, it's going to come out on Shabbat about 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And one of us or both of us tend to be in the chat if you want to interact with us. And we appreciate our faithful followers that are there week after week and always are there for us. We appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Well, this is interview number 3 or something that we've done back to back. And today I'm super excited because I love t-shirts. You know, in fact, Jake and I, when we first met each other, we would sit around and be like, hey, about this t-shirt. Yeah. And Jake started a t-shirt file.
We have a spreadsheet.
He has a spreadsheet of all these ideas and all these things that we'd say, hey, we put that on a t-shirt. And I've been a part of a lot of organizations. I used to be a school teacher, and I would always help design a t-shirt and make a t-shirt. And, you know, everything had a t-shirt, and so t-shirts are huge. And so I met somebody, and I want you all to know about Sanctified Supply Co. And this is Jerry Cripps, and he is on with us, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what he does and his story and what just more information about him. So welcome to Sabbath Lounge.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to meet you guys.
Well, thank you for being here. And so before we forget, so what is the name of your website? Where do they go to find you?
Our website is sanctifiedsupplyco.com, and across the board on social media, it's Sanctified Supply Co. will generally pull us up. There might be a hyphen, but it always comes up.
Okay. Yeah, I Googled it and I had no problem. It came up immediately. So, anyway, welcome. We're super excited. I'm wearing one of your shirts right now. This is Iron Sharpens Iron, and I'm in the t-shirt. What's it? The t-shirt of the month club, and every month I get a new t-shirt, and so. It just so happens this month I got a t-shirt, and so I think we'll start with this. So I get the little thing. It comes in a little package like this, and so I always wanted to be in an unboxing video.
Ooh,
Jake,
this is it.
You know, I've been told I could be a hand model though.
Not by me.
So this is his t-shirt of the month for those of you that get that. So this one is a front design, and it's got a little tag. So
nice.
Yep. So
I love that verse, by the way.
Awesome.
It's fantastic.
Very nice. So this is my first time to see it. I decided to unveil it live with the creator of the shirt.
That's right.
So we're super excited. I love these t-shirts, and they're super soft. And, they quickly become your favorite shirt. I get a lot of compliments. These are great on Shabbat and really anytime. But I really like them because they just feel comfortable. And on Shabbat, you should feel comfortable. I think that's required. So, but I appreciate you making good shirts, good quality, and those of us that are t-shirt nerds, which my entire family is. We have people in our family that have t-shirts from the 70s, that they're still rocking. And so t-shirts are a big deal to us. So, and they really like the quality and the texture of these. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot. And I do have to give credit to my beautiful wife, Lucia, though. She's technically the creator of the t-shirt. I'm the producer. So she does all the design work and I do the screen printing. So give credit where credit's due. She's a true MVP here.
That's right. That's a smart man right there. Smart man. All right. Well, we wanted you to tell us a little bit. We almost always ask everybody to kind of tell us a little bit about you and how you and your wife came into Torah, because most of us have a story. Everybody's got a story, and kind of tell us how you went from Christian Normie, which I assume you did, but maybe you didn't, and you got into what you do today.
Yeah. It's funny because I was just in the chat on your last guest, Andrew LeClaire from Outside the Camp, which, I mean, it's hard to follow him up. That guy's awesome. But so I was commenting on one of the comments in his comment section, to be redundant, but I was able to refresh my memory really because it came from oddly the topic of circumcision, because we were having our first son, and I was looking for instruction on how to raise my son, whether to circumcise him, whether to not circumcise him. And I wanted to circumcise him, but I was like, how important is it that I do this on the 8th day? Well, I came across scientific studies that show that vitamin K levels in the human body are exponentially higher by the time they're 8 days old, which, if people aren't aware, it helps with coagulation and clotting the blood so that they don't bleed out when they're circumcised. And I was just mind blown because I hadn't yet put my confidence in the word of Elohim. And so that was a paradigm shift for me, and it made me question how many other things did the Father tell me that were for my benefit, for our good, that I hadn't put my trust in. And then right after that was in the same week, we found out the same thing is true about the food laws that were given in Leviticus. So it was just after that, I was turning over every stone of things that I'd been taught. And it really harkens back to the Garden of Eden, where the Father gives you a command, and if you listen to the voice of any other besides him, Scripture says, "Let Yah be true and every man be a liar." You just can't trust anybody but him and his word when it comes down to it. So that was the beginning of the end. The story is much longer, and we can definitely go down the road of. It was quite a journey, I'll tell you.
No, I think I muted myself. Yeah, we've got time. You can definitely elaborate more on that. But I love what you think about that. I love the scripture. Every man, be a liar, but Yah's word be true. That's something that I pray all the time for my children and grandchildren, and I say this all the time. But I encourage everyone listening to this to do that for your children. Pray for your children and your grandchildren, and in the descendants you don't even know about yet. And pray that they will believe that, because that is I think COVID showed us that is going to be most likely very difficult to do in future times with the unknown, and especially with the rise of AI and all these things that are coming. It's going to be more important than ever to tune into Yah and know that he is right and true, and man is usually either, if they're not lying to me, they're trying to trick me to get my money or my time or something from me. So, but yeah, feel free to tell a little bit more about your background of what you grew up in and how, kind of that journey that you went on.
Yeah, and if you once you, as you mentioned, started looking at the food laws, I know there's always a lot of pushback from the community we're in. Once we start seeing certain things, kind of maybe your trek through those those kind of mazes with people.
Yeah, definitely. So right before, let me back up a little bit. Before we learned about circumcision and the food laws, we had kind of the lid blown off of the uh, secular holidays that, Christmas, Easter, and the like. And so we had put our line in the sand and said, "Hey, I know enough about these, and this is my conviction, and I want nothing to do with them anymore. So as for me and my house, we're not going to do that anymore." And so we pulled the plug on all that, which was like taking an ice bath for us and for our family. And but once the shock had kind of worn off, our family uh was relatively accepting of it, which is not always the case. So very grateful for that. My mom and my dad, they've always accepted that I don't always just do what everybody else is doing. So, but yeah, so that was one thing we were like, okay, so we're not doing these things anymore. And so we really started focusing on a lot of the stuff that we weren't doing anymore, which it also led us into studying a lot of things that were just false or, counterfeit, or the list goes on. So before too long, I realized that this was a never ending road that doesn't really lead you anywhere. And so we diverted our attention back to what is true and what is right. And we started studying that because I realized that that's part of the enemy's plan, is to keep us chasing down these endless rabbit holes that really just keep you distracted from knowing the Father. And so that, I think, was one of the most important decisions that we made early on, was to keep our attention on him. And so I always I always say that it's not as important what we're set apart from, but what we're set apart unto. And if you can keep your focus on what you're set apart unto, all the other stuff just falls by the wayside. And so I do believe that that's why our learning was accelerated, and we just started reading the word from the beginning, and it was all new to me, even though I'd seen it before, because I grew up in church from an early age, although in a broken home with divorced parents, and there was addiction and a lot of things, which really summarizes it. So without dwelling on the negative, it was a not great environment all the time. But I do believe, kind of, we talked briefly before, we went live, that it's some of those hard times in life are what refine you and really test the character of a person. So I do believe it was for our benefit. Again, scripture does say he works all things for our good to those who love him. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom in knowing what to ignore. You talked about not getting distracted by different rabbit trails and things like that. So yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of us can relate to that. I think Jake and I, we definitely have gone down that path. We've kind of gone some of it together. Some of it we've gone down individually, but we, chase all kinds of things, or have chased them, and kind of came to the conclusion a while back that so much of that can be such a distraction, and you can lose focus. And I think that it's just like what Paul talks about, how, like people run over here and follow this guy, and they run over here and follow this guy, Apollos, and, they chase teachings and chase ideas, to and fro. And sometimes you can completely lose your focus. And then also, when some of these teachers and when some of these people, when they fall or mess up a little bit, then if you're not careful, your whole just same thing that happens in church, your whole worldview can be crushed and then you're questioning everything and really have a crisis of faith.
Right. Or if they like kind of change their mind on something that you haven't studied out yourself, you kind of find yourself changing your mind as just suit what the teacher you're following is doing, instead of, well, no, I've already studied that out myself. I know my conviction on that. I don't need to follow you into that. If you want to do that, that's fine. But just knowing make your own faith your own, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that actually one of the silver linings of the whole 2020 situation is that it forced a lot of people to stop outsourcing their faith to a pastor because they were not able to go and congregate. And for those who still desired to be fed spiritually, they got in the Word. Or they got online. Online fellowships have been a huge blessing to me as well. But I personally think that people need to be plugged in to person fellowship. We really have been so blessed by finding fellowship in our area, and it's the difference between feeling like you're in this alone at times and knowing that there are other people that care about you and are willing to lift you up in prayer if you're having, a bad week or something.
Right.
Well, and we found too that in a fellowship, you kind of can bounce ideas off of each other and kind of keep yourself in check, keep your fellowship in check. And, because you get off on an island by yourself and, it's really easy to get some crazy ideas and camp out and think that, even crazy ideas about the world in general, that may or may not be true because of what it's like garbage in, garbage out. And we definitely see that in people sometimes, and having that fellowship, we're spiritual beings, but we're also social beings. And, we benefit from that. You see that in what we're going through in the Torah portions, all these people out in the desert, in these tribes, and, there's a lot of togetherness.
Right. Yeah. It's the shirt you're wearing right now. It's iron sharpens iron.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy to get dull when you're out by yourself in the elements.
Yeah.
I have a good brother who pitched the idea, iron sharpens iron. Everybody likes that term until the sparks start to fly, because that's the truth of the matter, is that when you put yourself out there and build relationships, you take risk. And a lot of us have grown comfortable staying in our, nice little homestead or, this or that. And that's great. And I see the temptation to just isolate. And that's my personality, is I like my space. I like to have, my little environment that's within my control, but that's also my flesh that wants those things. And it's not actually for the edification of the body, which is why we're told to not forsake the assembling of ourselves with believers, is to stir each other up in love and good works. And so, it's, there's a season though, just like studying some of these things out. It did benefit me very much, kind of blowing the lid off of some of the lies that have been, pushed into the mainstream media. So he does use it all. So I don't want to condemn, getting out of the cities and going into a homestead. I think that people ought to do those things.
Oh yeah.
But don't stop interacting with other people.
Yeah, it's the hiding your light under a bushel. And I think another thing that kind of is similar to that, reflective of that, metaphorical of that, is when they go into the land, when the Israelites go into the land, they're not to harvest from the trees for 3 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's some wisdom in, oftentimes scripture equates people with trees and things like that. But point being, you should have some time. Like when Paul goes back to Arabia, he's going to Mount Sinai to start over from the beginning and refresh himself before he goes into ministry. So there's that time in the wilderness that's necessary, but they're not supposed to stay there
Well,
Yeah.
you said something
I'm sorry,
before
go
about the fruit, about year 1, year 2, year 3. It takes a few years before you of studying Torah before you start to develop good fruit.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think I'm not sure, was it 3 or 5 years? Was it for sure 3?
I'm not sure. It could be 5.
I'm not sure either, but yeah, the point remains, and that's something that we recently were talking about, Lucia and I. We've been out here in Missouri from where we moved, our home in Southern Oregon, where all of our family is and where we grew up. But we've been out here for 5 years, but we've been on my friend's land since we got here. And so we've always desired to have a piece of land or just our own, home or a part of a community. But we just want to know where we're going to be long term, because that's not this option for us,
Yeah.
But that gave us a lot of hope when we were studying the scriptures and we came across that. And I think it was 5 years, but don't quote me on that. But I was like, man, I hope that that's the Father giving us a little head nod, like you put in some time here, it's time to go bear some fruit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's Leviticus 19:23 through 25, and it's 3 years, and the
It
4th
is.
year the fruit is holy. So it's the 5th year. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's 3 years, and then the 4th year is holy, and then the 5th year eaten. You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, so the fourth year there is fruit produced, but that's sort of a first fruits offering,
I think
I
that's what it
suppose.
reads like. Yeah.
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 Got it.
So yeah,
Yeah, that's
good.
such an awesome metaphor for kind of how, even, I've seen my walk, and like you're saying with yours, I think it's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And many people come out too early swinging. I feel like I probably did, for sure. And I think that's a pretty easy thing to do. So, what advice would you give? This was also not on our thing, but to someone, it sounds like you have a pretty good relationship with your parents, and coming into Torah, what advice would you give someone? So if they're just coming into this and they're like, how do I tell my parents how, what worked for you to kind of bridge that gap? Was it just their love and kindness, or do you think you did some things to help?
Yeah, our approach has to be palatable. So, I always relate good fruit to being palatable. A bad fruit's not palatable because you want to spit it out if you take a bite of it. If you try to serve that up to somebody, they're going to do exactly that. They're going to reject it. So our approach needs to be thoughtful. I don't recommend going at it right away with your, in all of our zeal. I think most of us can relate, man. This is like a fire just lights in you as soon as you come to the truth, and you're like, wow. Bill Cloud had a great teaching on it. It's like you're given the light, right? The word is a light to our path, and it illuminates where we're going. When it's exciting, but we take that light and we start shining it in people's eyes. It's like, well, we wonder why they can't see what we're seeing, is because that light that was given to you is meant for your path, and your path is lit. And if they're walking in darkness, they might just want to walk next to somebody who has a light, but not if you're using it for the wrong purposes. So that could be obnoxious, and it is obnoxious. And I think we've all had to, rethink our approach to, the truth is true, but you can say it in a way that's not palatable.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of actually. Once you start using the word actually in the conversation, you're probably in the downhill side of that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's good advice. And I think, Jake and I have been talking about that a lot the last year or so, just about how don't wreck, especially family relationships, your mom, your dad, your brother, sister. Don't burn those bridges. Do it carefully and love. So many of us, we wouldn't have the faith we have if it wasn't for our parents and our grandparents and some of these folks in our life. And so we don't need to go scorched earth on them, because this very seed of our faith came from them, and that's a good thing. And we do. There's some gratitude that we have to have for them and the legacy that they imprinted on us. But no, that's good. I appreciate you sharing that. Jake, do you have anything else? Or Jerry?
Not on that. No.
Okay.
So,
well, so forgive me because I'm what, people label as ADD. I don't receive that, but like, I just go bouncing all over so I kind of left out a lot of our, kind of how I went from Normie Christian to keeping the commandments. So when I was 21, I was starting to take my faith more seriously, going to church, still a Sunday church and all, but I was actually reading the word and trying to apply it. For the first time in my life, I was actually searching out what was sinful and what I needed to stop doing and not just feel bad about doing. And so did I lose you? I'm just
No, you're
still here.
I'm sorry. So with that was the beginning, I believe, of the process we know as sanctification, where you're setting yourself apart unto him. You're starting to no longer live for yourself and your own fleshly desires, but in a way that pleases your creator. So that, I believe, is when he really shined his face on me and said, "Hey, I see you, son. And, I'm going to work with you." But up until that point, I was not trying to monitor, even acknowledge my sin. I felt bad about it, but it was just a cycle of sin. And I ended up putting outlaw by choice, saved by grace on my arms, shamefully, and to my eternal, humiliation, because now I'm a Torah Observant Christian. I call myself, I know a lot of people don't receive that, but I'm a Torah Observant follower of Messiah. And I have outlaw by choice on my arm while I'm wearing seats to remind me to keep the commandments. So it's a humble check for me, for sure.
it is it's so interesting because it kind of really explains the standard Christian understanding of the faith is, well, there's another phrase that everyone always says or something like that, like something about he loves me even though I'm a sinner. It's like, well, but you shouldn't be a sinner. You should be trying not to be a sinner. That kind of thing. I don't know. There's a phrase in there that always kind of struck me as odd, but it's along that same vein of he loves me anyway, loves me just the way I am. It's like, no, he loves you so much, he doesn't want you to stay the way you are.
I literally just deleted a song from my Spotify today that was, it's false doctrine. And I don't want my children absorbing that. We listen to only Christian and, whole Bible believing music, but not all Christian music is good theology.
Yeah.
That's
true.
But if I may, back to when I was 21, this was the moment that I actually, for the first time ever, knew that I was called for a purpose. I didn't know that for sure. I kind of always wanted to be called for a purpose, but it was in a moment of deep brokenness, though, and that has been a theme that I've noticed for a lot of people. Scripture says a broken and a contrite heart he won't despise. Well, sometimes it takes for us to be low enough to say, "Hey, I actually need you, and I can't do this without you." And so in my moment of just surrender, I reached out to my grandmother, who has since passed, but I knew that she was the most, you know, godly person I knew in my life. And so I reached out to her and I said, Grandma, I'm going through a really hard time right now, and I don't know what to do. And she told me to pray and plead the blood of Jesus. And so I prayed and I asked for him to just cover my sins with the blood that he sacrificed for us. And it was a really interesting thing. I don't know if it was just because I was on my face or what, but I had a drip of blood come out of my nose, just one drip, not like a bloody nose. So I kind of was like, oh, that's, weird. I didn't think too much of it until this became like a monumental moment in my life that I was never able to forget that that was part of the story. Well, I opened up my Bible, and I don't generally just flip open and see what's there and read, but I did this day, and it was the passage in Isaiah where it says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, and He has anointed me to preach good news to the poor and to proclaim liberty to the captives." I don't have the verse memorized, but that verse, and I was like, "Okay, praise you." I didn't say praise you. I said, "Thank you, God." And I said, "Okay, but I don't know if I just like picked that verse for myself. I don't know that that's from you." So, and I did not know that that verse was in the Bible twice. So I flip open way over to the New Testament now, and I open up to Luke, where Yeshua is quoting that exact verse, and it was just with no shadow of a doubt, I knew that that was a confirmation that the Father had a plan for me, and that meant I needed to live up to something, which is really what most men want, is for somebody to have some faith in them. Somebody that you can let down. If you have nobody to let down, that's how people kind of spiral, I think. But that was the moment that I decided that I wasn't gonna continue living a lukewarm life anymore, and I started to actually stop doing the things I knew I shouldn't be doing anymore. Not all at once, but I did start to remove myself from worldly environments and situations. And
Yeah,
then
that's
I
powerful.
met my wife a couple of years later. Well, didn't meet her, but we started dating just a couple of years after that. Now we have beautiful children and a ministry that all glory goes to the Most High. It's a absolute privilege and honor to serve Him and His people by what we do with the t-shirts. And we just don't. I mean, we know for sure He doesn't call the qualified, but He qualifies those who He calls. And
Amen. Yeah.
and He uses the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great testimony. Great
Yeah.
scripture. And I'm a firm believer in the confirmation thing. And, I think that I pray a lot of times that way, where I pray for this happens and then this happens. And I know that that's from Him. And, he delivers on that when I pray specific prayers. Sometimes I'll get a half, and then I'm like, well, that's not a yes.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's crystal clear like that, where I've seen two things to kind of confirm it. And like, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, you got to put the fleece out sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so how did you get into making the t-shirts then? So
Right, perfect segue. Yeah.
Yeah. So you felt that. So I am assuming that you felt like that was your calling.
Well, the t-shirts, so I didn't know what exactly it looked like. And I think that that's a theme. He will want you to take a step of faith. So He doesn't give you all the answers. He just gives you the direction. So I knew that there was something. So I was looking to be involved in my local church. That wasn't His will for me. And so there wasn't a youth pastor position. There wasn't even a groundskeeping position. I literally wanted to just cut the grass if I could do anything for the church. I just wanted to work for Yah for a living. I just wanted that to be what I did with my life. And I felt every time that I went to any other job, even if it wasn't a wicked job or anything, I felt like I was building up Pharaoh's kingdom instead of the Most High's. And so I could not find myself content at any of the jobs that I had. I did use it as a mission field, to the dismay of my coworkers. And this is and I started going down this, Sabbath and eating clean and all this stuff with them. And there's just not a whole lot. I mean, some people were kind, but there was nobody that was like,
yeah, let me get into that budging. Also.
Yeah, let me just not. Yeah, no, it does test your faithfulness because, so, but to the t-shirt thing, I just decided, well, while I'm working, I'll just make billboards, to share my faith, and because I didn't like to talk to strangers. I still don't really like to talk to people I don't know, which is why I decided to do the t-shirt, because I don't have to talk to people and I can still witness to them. And so it's like the passive income version of, sharing the gospel. So right. Something that you don't really have to work at, but it does open the door for conversations and opportunities to witness to people. And in my case, I get a lot of people, and anybody else who wears the shirts, I'm sure they can attest that it's mostly believers, but Christian, Sunday Christian believers that will say something about your shirt, which is actually kind of the pool that I'm fishing in. That's I want to kind of help people along this journey without excommunicating them and without shoving my light in their face and blinding them. So we want to find so much middle ground with them before they know how far on the other end of this spectrum we are, that they already have buy-in. They already kind of like us a little bit. So by then you might as well just hear me out. But truly the t-shirt idea was stemmed from my childhood. My dad would buy boxes of evangelistic t-shirts and give them to homeless and anybody who wanted one, and he would hand them out like a tract. And I was inspired by that. I actually didn't put two and two together until we had already been doing the t-shirt thing for a couple of years, and I was like, that is absolutely where that seed was planted. He was witnessing to people through the t-shirts, and some of those seeds fell inside his own house and took root in my heart. And so that was where that whole thing started. There were t-shirts that said Jesus Christ, but it like looked like Coca-Cola. Yeah. Or it said like He Saves instead of Hershey's, but it looked like a candy bar. And but yeah, that was, so my dad, he definitely gets credit for putting that idea in my head early on. But yeah, it's crazy how it all came around like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I remember those t-shirts. I was a youth minister for a little while, and there was like Mardell's is the chain that we had here, and they'd have I think they still do, but they had a wall of t-shirts, and I always thought they were so cool. And that was the thing. So I'm glad to see we have something like that in our movement as well, because it is a walking billboard. That's a great way to say it. And so what a testimony to the seeds that your dad planted, and he had no idea when he was doing that you would do that one day.
No, he couldn't have known. My grandpa had a gutter business in Portland, Oregon, and it was the family business. It was a successful company, and I just assumed, because my dad always told me, like, you'll work here one day, you'll be a manager here one day or something, and always that was like my dream. I mean, praise the Most High, I didn't grow up my whole life in Portland, Oregon, but poor circumstances led me to move to a rural area in Southern Oregon where I was less indoctrinated. But that was one of my early childhood moments that I kind of intentionally skipped past. That was the hardest thing for me early on, and it was partly due to an early divorce with my parents, and then things just really went downhill for my dad later on in life, which led me to live with my mom, and that was like some of the things that like upset me the most as a child and kind of caused me the most pain at that time of my life. And then I look back and really you can trace back almost everything, and it's hard to see it even just a couple months past, but you get 10 or 20 years past those big trials and it starts to become more clear that the Father's hand was in it the whole time, and a lot of it was purely provision and protection. And that also allowed me to not have hard feelings towards the Most High, because I grew up with a bit of a chip on my shoulder. I believed in God, but I felt like he didn't care about me because of the circumstances. And that's easy for a kid to, not have the answers and try and kind of fill in the blanks, especially if there's nobody to kind of give you wise counsel in those moments. But yeah, it really squashed a lot of that I had held onto. I didn't realize that I had bitterness towards God until it was lifted from me. And then it just like cleared the airways, and I felt connected with him again.
Yeah. Well, I think anytime we go through adversity, we either get better or we get bitter. And unfortunately, there's many people who get bitter with it, and just can't get past it, and this anger and this, hatred or unforgiveness or whatever it is that we're dealing with, what we don't realize is that when we forgive and when we move past, it benefits us. So there may be someone out there that we're really mad at, and they may not even know, but we're carrying this thing around with us everywhere we go, and it's a burden. And y'all can take that from us, and that we don't have to carry those things around. And I'm glad that you got decoupled from that and found him in the right way. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we always had a guy that would say, you can either be bitter or better. The difference is I am the difference of whether or not I'm bitter or better. So I always thought that was kind of funny.
I'm surprised I haven't heard that. That's really good, though.
Yeah, that is good.
I'm writing that down.
Well, one of the things that I had here too, and I wanted to show some of these is, I want to know more about the tracks. I really have enjoyed seeing these, and so hopefully, you can see those. So sometimes you put these in the order, and so I do want to back up a hair too. So I also have benefited from a wall hanger that you sent. You sent out the 10 Commandments, and I hung that in my office. I'm proud display, and people walk in, especially when I first hung it up. Everybody would come into my office and they'd look at it and kind of check it out. So I like the wall hanger stuff that you did. But tell us about these tracks. And so kind of how did this come about? Because you talked about your t-shirt kind of being a walking track, and you've actually made tracks.
Yeah, my wife is largely responsible for the tracks. So we do study these topics out together, but she really takes the initiative to put what we have learned from Scripture into a format like this and share it. We wanted to do something that we've always had the intention of putting tracks in with our orders. And for a long time, or for about a year, maybe close to a year, we were putting in the truth tracks that the Life podcast, or Luke and his wife Luca Baffy and his wife put out. And so we were inspired by their tracks, and we've always wanted to evangelize, and not everybody can afford to buy a t-shirt. And so we thought, let's put tracks in with the orders. So we're not putting physical tracks in with the orders anymore, but what we did is we made it a digital download that people can download for free, and that way they can print it out in mass and give as many as they want to people. So it kind of simplified our process a little bit and created another opportunity for people to share their faith.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's the stuff that we would put on a t-shirt, but it's just too long to fit. And we want to say so much more on a lot of these shirts, but they have to look good and edify at the same time.
Right. Yeah. You don't have enough room to be a billboard. Yeah, I get it for sure. Yeah, these are great. And it kind of reminds me of when we did talk to Andrew. He has a bacon track that he hands out. Same kind of idea. Yeah, those are great. So Jake, I don't even know if you had seen those before. So
some of them. I've seen some of them.
Yeah. And then I had another question here. What is your best-selling shirt of all time?
So it's kind of nuanced, because our best-selling shirt is a shirt that went viral on my wife's Instagram, or on Sanctified. So she does all her social media, so they're all her social medias. But on Instagram, we had a post of our Moses' mother did not comply. And it happened to be around a political wave, if you will. And so it got a lot of traction. Roe v. Wade is what was going on in the media. Okay. Yeah. So it was getting overturned, and a lot of people resonate. They because she was not willing to throw Moses into the water. She said, no, she's not going to do it. It was an order. She said, not going to happen. Found another solution. And that act of civil disobedience, if you will, and I'm not advocating for that, just for YouTube overlords or whoever. I'm not advocating for that. But if what you're being told to do is it requires you to break the commandments of the Most High, I'm guilty. I would say you should not obey that command. And so Absolutely. That was that. I think that's where that resonated with people. It wasn't necessarily intended to be a anti-abortion type of t-shirt, but it does fit that bill.
Kind of hit the wave right at the right time then.
Yeah, but I would say our most consistent best-selling t-shirt is our "Come Out of Her, My People" t-shirt, which is the only shirt that we currently offer in 2 different colors, because it's frankly just a lot of different shirts to keep in stock. And so right. We generally keep it to one variant per design. But it's one of my very favorite shirts. When I go into a city, it is the t-shirt that I wear.
Yeah, it's a good one. And I want to say I saw the Moses post, and I think I've seen a post with this on it. And probably the Moses post is when I went, oh, cool. And that's probably when I started following you. That checks, that lines up. But that's what I remember anyway. So.
Yeah, wasn't the anniversary of that just this past week, if I'm not mistaken? I could be wrong, but
that'd be good.
I seem to think there.
Yeah,
I'll look into that.
Yeah, that's
well, because awesome. I think they have Life Sunday, or Sanctity of Life Sunday was just this past week or something like that, and I think it's related to that.
That one you have up is also one of our better selling t-shirts.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. 2018 is what it says there.
Yes, 2018 is when we started, and Boy, I wish I would have sent you this clip before we started, but I just found our first and maybe our only advertisement that we did when we first started making t-shirts. And we weren't called Sanctified Supply Co yet. We were Lucia and Jerry Creations, which is super cool. Um, but we named it that because I was inspired to start my own family business, and I because of uh poor decisions that my dad made. He was not uh not in the family business for very long. And so that kind of put me not in the family business either, also not in the neighborhood at all. So I tried to move back to Portland and get a job working for the gutter shop when I was 20. And I even applied through a temp agency I tried to get on, but it just didn't happen. It wasn't the Father's will for me.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, so I kind of went back home a little defeated, if I'm being honest. I was bummed out about it. And a couple of years later, 3 years later, we were having, getting married and having a baby and all these things. And yeah, Lucia and Jerry Creations is what we called it because my son's initials are LJC, and I thought that would be a nice little tribute to my boy. And when he gets older, he'll be like, oh, so special.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, if you want to send that to me, we can use it somehow. We'll work it in. So,
okay,
that'd be good.
I could put it on the, like, just hold it up if that's not too janky.
Or
But
is it
no.
if it's a link, you could email me the link and I can put it up there.
Yeah, let me do that.
Okay.
I'll let you talk while I do that.
All right. So anyway, we'll try to get that commercial together. We'll see if we can get that to work. So next question, any advice for other Torah related entrepreneurs out there that want to get started on starting up their own business or getting into the market, things like that?
Yeah, so the best advice that I was ever given, and it's simple, but it's just start. And you just start. We were in a 1-bedroom apartment when we started making t-shirts, and I was working full time. We just had a baby. We just got married. We had 3 chihuahuas, all the excuses not to do it, but we went for it. And I bought a Cricut cutter, a vinyl cutting machine, and a heat press, and a bunch of t-shirts. And my wife got very upset with me because I spent a lot of money that we didn't have to spend at the time. And we just went for it. And the first, actually, I'll grab something real quick. It's the first shirt that I ever pressed, but I cut it out by hand because I didn't yet have a Cricut cutting machine. This is right over here. I'll grab it.
So I'm just kind of scrolling through some of the things that they have on their site, and it's pretty extensive collection. So here, you got it framed?
Yeah, my wife got these frames to put them in. So this is my last name. It's not a work of art by any stretch of the imagination, but I wanted to do a font that didn't have curves, so that I could try to cut it out with a ruler and make it straight. So I cut that out by hand and pressed it on a shirt.
No, that looks awesome.
Thank you. It's still on there, so that says something, I guess. And then this is the first t-shirt that I ever screen printed, and she did this for me as a gift to just put a couple of t-shirts that were big milestones for us into a frame. And I thought that was pretty special.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I like your advice just to start, because it's just like sometimes it's like, how do you start keeping Sabbath? Just start. How do you eat clean? Just start. You
You
there's
were going to
so
go with
many
the
things.
elephant metaphor, weren't you?
That's right. So you just got to
You
start.
just use a giraffe instead.
That's right. Hey, I like that. Yeah, when I found out giraffe was clean, I was like, I got to get me some giraffe.
Just like a vertebrae steak or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, Micah, my youngest, he always says that, and he's a pretty good hunter too, and his wife really likes giraffes, and she doesn't like him saying that, but he's like, I just want to eat one.
So
I would be lying if I'm sorry.
No, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say I'd be lying if I didn't say I would like to try it.
Right. I mean, you got to be curious, right? Yah made them for food. We shouldn't let them down. So, so kind of with the kind of progression we're seeing, we showed you have t-shirts, you got the tracks, you got hats on the site. You're all about billboarding the word out to the nations. What kind of do you see as like the future of the Sanctified Supply Co? What do you guys have like kind of on the horizon that you're kind of shooting for? Or feel free to say, hey, that's secret. Quit trying to steal my ideas.
No. So we're going to stay the course for now. The mission is to share the gospel to every creature. That's what we feel called to do. Now, I think that anybody can share the gospel, but we think it's very important, kind of back to what we were talking about at the beginning, is to do it with a palatable, tasteful approach. We don't want to beat other people over the head with the Torah, and we don't want to water down or compromise the Torah either. So it's a very fine line between the two, which I believe is a very exemplary. It's the example of the narrow path that we are to walk, and people slide into the ditch on both sides of that road. And I think it's not to, we want to help them out of the ditch,
Right.
So whatever side they fell on, which the Messiah and the Moedim shirt is one of the shirts I believe is one of the most powerful witnessing tools, because it connects Yeshua to all the feasts. And the feasts are so rich, and you understand the gospel so much better if you understand what the feasts mean, what they're about. They're all about him, prophetic, before and his coming, his second coming. And so I think that speaks to Christians or Jews, and which to be frank, I believe those are the two ditches here. And so that's Messiah the Moedim shirt comes to mind as far as walking that narrow path.
Yeah, I think that's a real good point about the, being getting the message out, but not clubbing people. I mean, they're not baby seals, people. That's not the point. No, I'm kidding.
And I like the font that you used on this. I think many people can relate to where what this reminds them of.
Maybe like a band T-shirt or something.
Yes. One particular band. So
I like that you have a short one-liner that sums up that feast.
Have you seen? My wife and I watched that series, The Promised Land. And did you ever watch The Office?
I haven't.
Well,
I've lived under a rock as far as television.
Well, that's good.
Most of my life.
Good. Well, The Office was something that we watched, and yes, there's a lot of bad things in it. But they had a series. This Promised Land is a free YouTube thing, And I think not everyone agrees with this, but I think they did a pretty good job of telling the story of the Israelites in the desert. And so they've done season 1. It's all free. And they have a T-shirt there that's like a concert T-shirt that they sell. And it's the years in the desert.
Oh, that's cool.
Like it's like they're going on tour. And for 40 years, that same place.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny. So, but I like shirts like that though, because it's like this inside joke. If you don't know the story, then you're like, well, you don't get it. But maybe you ask a question,
right?
So
yeah, this is something that a lot of people don't get. I think a lot more people do know what YHWH is now, which is why we put it with the paleo. So I felt like there was a bit of a translation there, so it can connect with more people.
Yeah. No, that's a great one.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because when we first came into Torah, I mean, I think for me it was around 2017, I want to say. I had never heard Yahweh as the name, and then and actually the only people I did hear using that phrase, that word after, were atheists who were arguing against Christians, because they have the problem of having to designate which God they're trying to tear down. So they were the only ones that were using Yahweh before I understood what it was. And then but nowadays, since so many people have come out of churches and have hit their pastors with, hey, what about this? Why aren't we calling him Yahweh? Why are we forgetting his name? And that kind of thing, then now they have to use it because it's in the vernacular now. So I think it's cool that how it's come back a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot more mainstream than ever right now. I grew up listening to hip hop music, and I still listen to Christian hip hop music. And there's a lot of very talented Torah rap artists out there as well. But even the Christian rap artists, they say Yeshua and Yahweh, and it's becoming more understood that for those who want to know, it's very easy to learn right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, you just Google it, and there's all kinds of information. There's really no excuse. You're not looking very hard if you haven't seen it. Mine. I really hope that Mr. Forrest Frank would come into some of this, because I've really enjoyed kind of watching him and how simple and pretty pure his lyrics are. Like you talked about, so many people kind of camp out on some different theologies, but I like how he keeps it so simple. We've asked him, we'd like to interview him sometime, but I would love to see somebody like that come out and start observing Sabbath or something. And I think, through time, we probably will see some of that. Yeah, absolutely. Forrest Frank has a heart of gold for sure. And I think that there's something to be said for the love that people have, because even some people, and forgive me, but I'm gonna call something out a little bit right here, but even people within our movement, the Torah Observant community, can be very nasty to people, and it's not the fruit that we're supposed to be seeing from those who follow Messiah. You'll know who they are by the love that they have for one another, also by the fruits. Right. Yeah. And so I think that's something I want to encourage all of our brothers and sisters that are keeping the commandments to get back to what is, you make the main things, and these other things they're important, and we shouldn't compromise on them, but none of it matters. If you read 1 Corinthians 13, none of it matters if you don't have love. And so I do want to encourage people to get back to that, and don't let our heads get full and get, our nose in the air because we have the truth. Because even bloodline Israel was rejected from entering the promised land. And, they had to circle back around, like we were just talking about.
So, I mean, he can say, hey, not right now. You're not there yet.
That's the Romans 11, don't get a big head. This isn't all about you. And I'll cut you back off and graft in the natural branch again if I need to. And
absolutely.
It's a dangerous game.
Yeah. That's good. Good words for sure. I appreciate you saying that. So, and something you were saying when we asked you about what's new, you talked about, staying with what brought you there, kind of thing. And I think that's important. I think a lot of people, in business, sometimes we shoot with a shotgun, and we're like, man, we need to do all this. And sometimes you can shoot so broad that you do nothing well. And sometimes you kind of have to laser and go, what focus and go, what is it that I'm doing and what do I do well? What am I known for? And stay with that. And I think that's wise to, that you're kind of thinking about those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To that point, just put a different way. So I wrestled in school, and one of the things that our coach taught us was get the basics down. So all the other like fancy moves and stuff, you don't need to worry about that. If you can do a simple, and he had an example person, and he said, this person, if everyone knows all he's going to do is shoot a double leg, but no one can stop it. It's like, it's one simple basic move, but no one can stop it. And like, as long as you're focused on what you're good at and you do that to the best of your ability, then, that'll take you all the way to the championships, if you will. So,
yeah, definitely. I never got close to the championships, but I did wrestle in high school as well. And it's a humbling sport if you've never done it before. And I had never done it before. So I gave some people some highlights they still remember, I'm sure.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Well, you kind of touched on it a little bit too about the state of the body. And did you finish what you were going to say on that?
Yeah. I kind of I don't want to rant on it. I made my point.
Yeah. No. And I agree with that. And that's what Jake and I have been seeing over the last few, the last couple years about there's a lot of bad, like you mentioned, a lot of bad fruit out there. And, we do have to be mindful of the image and the things that we say and do, and that we got to lead in love. Just because there's a lot of anger, a lot of hatred, a lot of division, and pretty soon we become just like the thing that we left. It's like Hunger Games. I know you probably didn't see that, but
I'm familiar with a lot of this stuff. So.
In Hunger Games, that's kind of what happens in the end. They rail so hard against this thing and they pull away from it, and then in the end they become the thing that they hated and fought against.
It's a revolution when you don't have a plan after the revolution.
Yeah. So well, Jake, what do you have anything else?
This is off topic, but I'm very curious about it. And since you brought up some ties to Oregon, are you familiar at all with the plan of Greater Idaho going on right now, where they're trying to merge half of the eastern half of Oregon with Idaho?
So I'm not familiar with any current events in regard to that, but as long as I can remember, there's always been, I used to make t-shirts that was the 51st state of Jefferson when I was still in Oregon, and I was rooting for it because Southern Oregon does not want to be associated with Portland, Oregon. And Portland, Oregon represents most of the state, just like most states have a big city that represents them. And Idaho is very conservative, and so that's about as far as I know. I'm sure that it's just an evolution of that exact
So from your experience,
school of
that's been
thought.
going on for a while then.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Okay.
definitely. I see us getting parts of Canada before that happens, though.
No, huh. That's funny.
Okay. And then, so we had mentioned previously off air, but so if people want to find you or submit ideas to you guys or any of that, where do they need to go, and kind of give a plug to people where they can find you and how they can share their special ideas and become the next big selling merchandise at Sanctified Supply Co.
So through any of our social medias would be probably the first place, to like a Facebook Messenger, or you can go to Sanctified Supply Co at gmail.com. You can send us an email there. I will say we're not doing like wholesales or, one-off custom products right now, but we love getting suggestions for great evangelistic t-shirt ideas. So yeah, if they want to send those over, sanctifiedsupplyco at gmail.com is a place you can email us, or on Facebook, Instagram.
Okay,
Those
awesome.
work too. Yeah.
So there
And
you
then,
go,
of
audience.
course-
Get your ideas in.
That's right. And you have a YouTube channel, and you have lots of things there that they can look at. And so I'm going to kind of scroll through there, and obviously the Facebook, and I think I showed that too. So, okay. And
Yeah,
tell me, so you have an Ancient Path Parable of the Vineyard, I guess, has a fellowship finder too. I see that on your post. I didn't see that.
yeah, I haven't seen that either. My wife posted that.
Oh,
No, yeah, the Ancient Path does have they've got a lot of people on the fellowship finder. So if people are hearing this, they're watching this right now, and they don't have a fellowship in their local area yet, if you don't see one on the fellowship finder, I recommend
sorry.
starting up a little. What's that?
It played music.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was gonna play.
It did. Yeah. Get connected in a local fellowship. I can't tell you how good it's been for us to have that iron sharpens iron in real life, and not just on the internet. Because I mean, people aren't the same on the internet as they are in person. You're not getting the best version of somebody in the comment section right now.
Yeah.
It's hard to get the discipleship through the internet, I think.
Yeah, it really is.
It's hard to grow I mean, it can happen, but it's kind of the harder way to do it, I think. You got to press the flesh.
Yeah, it's good to be challenged, and it's good to just feel loved, by other people that love your Heavenly Father as well. And and we're all part of this walk together. And I think that really the harvest is plenty, but the workmen are few. That comes to my mind a lot. I think more people ought to be more engaged, and it doesn't mean you have to be an evangelist. That's just what we've been called to do. There's a lot of different gifts, though. I think people ought to read the scriptures where it talks about our gifts. I believe it's in Romans 11, maybe. I'm not sure, but find out what your gifts are. Ask the Holy Father to reveal what the purpose He has for your life. And my wife always refers to the body as a Swiss Army knife. There's many different members of this body, but we're all a part of one body, and we all serve a slightly different function in the body. So if somebody's not a pair of scissors, don't come after them because you're a corkscrew or whatever you are. We're all different in a little bit different ways. And so have grace on each other, because we need grace. Don't be quick to think other people are really dropping the ball when there's probably things that we could do better ourselves, that sort of thing. So yeah, just be kind to one another, get connected with people. It's the most my favorite part about this walk so far is our fellowship. and just having community out with other like-minded believers that, you know, they really love Yah, and none of them are perfect either. So get used to that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. So, yeah, they're not going to ever be perfect because they're made of people and we're flawed.
Mhm.
And the Torah is full of those stories. Just week after week, we see these flawed individuals that Yah used in powerful ways despite their flaws. So,
Yep.
and it encourages us to know that He can use us. And I appreciate what you're saying about the evangelism. And so many people don't realize that they are evangelists at work, wherever they go, and God has probably put them amongst some people that they're supposed to tell something to. And boy, what and you can speak no louder message than how you live every day, because you can talk, but you can say words and say one thing. And I've seen so many people, talk one way, but everything else about them said something different. And then that makes a real conflicting message to especially somebody that you're trying to minister to. But our actions of the people that we work with day to day, often that's the biggest mission field many of us will ever have, is those people at work. So, and if you wear a Sanctified Supply shirt, you can enhance your mission field.
That's right.
Thank you.
So, all right. Well, we really appreciate your time this evening and time away from your family to have this discussion with us. And Jake, unless there's anything else, we'll kind of sign off here. So
no, thanks for jumping on, and it was good talking with you and learning a little bit more about the business and your history and all the things about you. So just encourage people to check out Sanctified Supply Co. and get their shirts and all their apparel needs.
That's right. That's right.
Appreciate you guys.
All right. Well, Jerry, we appreciate your time. And this is Matt
And Jake
signing out.